Hi everyone. I was going to say it's another beautiful day in South Carolina, but it's actually raining, and so every now and then I'm getting hit by a little smatter every now and then of rain. So today is a really fun session because we're talking about one of my favorite topics, one of the most surefire ways to have a great impact on putting you on your path for trauma recovery. And so let's go back to our central thesis. Our central thesis is that that trauma response, the increase of cortisol and adrenaline, and the decrease of serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, that's a natural response, and it's a body response. It's not a mind response. And what's happening is our body is making us hypervigilant, hyper tuned in to a risk and a danger that's going on. And at the same time, it's suppressing our ability to feel relaxed. It's suppressing our ability to be able to enjoy life and to be able to feel peaceful. Now, why would our body do that? Our body is doing that because if there's a threat or there's a risk, you don't want to feel relaxed. You don't want to feel peaceful. And what you want to do is be hypervigilant. So go back to all of the natural selection cycles that go back thousands and thousands of years. So if you believe in a creation story where we've been around for 12,000 years, then there's been at least 250 generations of human beings, which is a lot of time for natural selection to bear fruit and reward certain traits and penalize others. If you believe in an evolutionary story, then there's been thousands of generations. So whatever the story that you believe in, the fact of the matter is that we're here with traits that were passed on to us by our ancestors through the process of natural selection. And when I say we're here with traits, it means that certain traits made it more likely that somebody was going to survive, and certain traits made it more likely that somebody was going to die. So having a very strong trauma response and being hypervigilant makes it so that you don't get eaten by a lion in the bushes when the bush shakes. That's just the way it works. And thank God for that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Some other people would be here. So, and then on top of that, we also have to recognize that in the same natural path, that there's no way on earth that being traumatized and staying in a trauma condition would be something that would be positive from a natural selection standpoint, which means that once you're traumatized, if you stay in a traumatized state, you're not going to be able to go out and hunt, you're not going to be able to plant seeds, you're not going to be able to take care of the rest of your family, nothing like that. So we do know that trauma is a natural response, but then more importantly, healing from trauma is a natural response, and it's something that we can do as well. So it's our job to stimulate our body, to stimulate our senses, and to tell ourselves that, hey, everything's okay, we can relax. So when we have that first trauma response, what happens is our cortisol goes up and our adrenaline goes up, and then our serotonin, dopamine, and GABA go down. And that's that cocktail which causes the trauma, anxiety, stress, and then that leads us to this constant state of unease. It's really a suffering situation if you're dealing with trauma, if you've been in it. I'm a trauma survivor, my wife is too. And when you're in it, man, it just hurts like hell and it never goes away. And that's why people turn to drugs, alcohol, crazy sexual behavior, suicide. They fall into depression. They're constantly in a state of anxiety. So natural response to have a trauma response, but there's a natural path to healing, and that's what we're trying to do at paleofreedom.com. So let's talk about, right now, today, the most powerful short-term method that is part of a long-term foundation for you healing from trauma, and that's called box breathing. Now, box breathing is used by first responders in New York City, the fire department, the police department, first responders all across the country, really. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, it's used by the armed forces a lot, although they call it tactical breathing. So what box breathing does is it lowers your cortisol and it increases your dopamine. And it also does something else to your body, and that is that it lowers your adrenaline. So one of the long-term negative impacts of trauma response is that your adrenaline gets elevated. That's why you've got all this Remember, have you ever heard the term nervous energy? That nervous energy is is a combination of adrenaline and cortisol. That's what you're experiencing. So box breathing will also help your body relax and lower that adrenaline response. So here's how box breathing works. And if you're going to score 2 points on box breathing, which is what we recommend in the scoring system for Paleo Freedom, this is what you have to do. You have to have 3 sessions during the day, 1 in the morning, 1 around noon, and then 1 in the early evening or late evening, whenever you want to do it at evening. You can even do it at bedtime, okay? And during each session, you're going to do 3 rounds of a box breath, okay? So the way a box breath works is this, and it's really simple, and I'm going to demonstrate. You breathe in for 4 seconds. You hold it for 4 seconds, and then you exhale for 4 seconds. And then you hold the exhale for 4 seconds. Then you breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold the exhale for 4 seconds. And then breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. And then hold the exhale for 4 seconds. That's it. And you do that 3 times a day. So again, what I love about box breathing is it just reaffirms to us that this is a physical issue. Trauma is a physical issue. Your brain has already figured out what's going on with trauma. Your brain knows what happens. Your brain knows that it was a terrible, shitty, awful situation. And if you're still not in the case of right now being around that risky situation, your brain has already told you, hey, this is your conscious brain. Everything's okay. We're not in a state of danger. You know that. That's where a big part of the anxiety comes in with trauma, because your brain tells you, hey, everything's okay, but you still have these feelings of anxiety and stress, and everything's just churning inside of you. And again, that's your chemicals in your body, your hormones and your neurotransmitters telling you to be on guard. So we want to get our subconscious and our body back in line with our conscious mind. That's really what we're doing. So the box breathing will absolutely do this. Now, listen, you get 2 points for doing it. You got to do the full cycle of 3 of them during the day to get the full 2 points, to get up to your minimum 10 points for the day. At paleofreedom.com, as you know, we keep scoring. So you want to score at least 10 points during the day, and you want to shoot for a 15-point day, but at least make a minimum 10 points a day. So that's what box breathing does. It's good for 2 points in this path to get your scoring. And then keep in mind with box breathing that it's doing another thing as well. And that is that you're taking these deep breaths, these slow breaths, and it's figuratively telling your body, it's okay, I'm not in a state of hypervigilance. When you're in a state of hypervigilance, your breath gets shallower and it gets quicker. So we know when we've been scared before, our breath gets lower and then we breathe quicker. All right? So the inverse of that is to have your breath be loud and full and taking deep breaths and then holding them, not being in a panic state. So my hypothesis is that's the triggering thing that's going on with your body as to why it works, but there's been several studies that have shown this. If you'd like to look for the studies, go to the research section at paleofreedom.com, go to research page, and you can see all the studies that have been done on box breathing and its positive effects. So do like the Navy SEALs do like first responders in New York City do. Use box breathing to help you calm yourself down in a stressful situation, but also put yourself on that daily rhythm, that daily discipline path to paleo freedom recovery from trauma, anxiety, and stress in your life. All right, thank you guys. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks.